Hi, I'm Uma Raj and welcome to Excel functions in less than 15 minutes. In today's tutorial, we compare and contrast two logical functions, NestedIF and the new function IFS. I have included a link to a video of if and ifs in detail in the description box below for your reference. So before we look at the examples, we will see the syntax of both NestedIF and ifs. We use NestedIF if one if statement is not enough to make a decision. And just to recollect, the syntax of the if function is if, logical test, second argument value if true, third argument value if false. So in NestedIF, a conditional if statement is nested within another if statement. So the syntax will be if test condition 1, if true, return result 1, if false, second test condition, if true, return result 2, if false, again the third test condition, if that is true, return the result 3, if false, and you can continue like that, or you can return a default value at the end of the third test result. So that means each subsequent if condition is in the value of the false argument of the previous if statement. And in ifs function checks whether one or more conditions are met and returns a value that corresponds to the first true condition. And ifs is available only from Excel 2016 version onwards. And the syntax will be ifs, first condition is true, then return the value of that condition. If that is not true, goes to the second condition and returns the value if that condition is true, and so on. And here also we can specify a default value, and the condition to specify this result is to provide the true before the value. So if any of these conditions is not met, it goes to the true and it will bring the default value. So we will see that in our coming examples. In the first example, we have a table of students and their grades, and we want to show some performance level based on their grades, and the condition is if their grades are greater than or equal to 90, we want to give a performance level excellent. If it is greater than or equal to 85, we want to give very good. If it is greater than or equal to 75, we want to give a good. And if any of these conditions not met, then we want to provide a default value fair as the performance level. So we will see how we will do that in NestedIF. So equal to if D15 is our grade of the first student, greater than or equal to 90, the result will be excellent if that is true. If that is false, it goes to the next if statement and it checks to see if it is greater than or equal to 85. If that is true, the result will be very good. And if that is false, it goes to the third if statement and that checks to see if it is greater than or equal to 75, and the result will be good. And if any of these conditions is not met, then we want to provide a default value as fair. That means if it fails all these three conditions, it will come to the last else part of the if statement and it gives you the value fair as the result. So we can copy this to the rest of the column here, and we will see that the function also copies correctly. When you look at this one, you can see the grade is 74 and it checks to see D17 greater than or equal to 90. It is not true, so it comes to the false part here. It checks the second condition. It checks to see if it is greater than or equal to 85. That is also not true, so it comes to the third if statement. It checks to see if it is greater than or equal to 75. That is also not true, so it comes to the default part and returns the value fair as the result. So we will see the same example how we will do that in the ifs function. The ifs function is a little simpler and shorter function. What it does is ifs, and it checks to see this value in J15 greater than or equal to 90. If it is true, it gives the value excellent. If it is false, it comes to the second condition, J15 greater than or equal to 85. And if it is true, it gives the value very good, and it goes like that. And here it satisfies the second condition, so it returns the value very good. So we will again copy it into the rest of the column here by pulling down the autofill handle to copy the functions. And here again the fair will be, we will check this one. It does not satisfy the first condition, so it comes to the second condition. That is also false. It comes to the third condition. That's also false. So it comes to the default value. It hits this true. True will always be true. So it brings this value after the true as fair. And we can see that the ifs function generally are simpler, shorter, and it's more readable. And it's less prone to syntax and data entry errors because it is shorter. You don't have to have all these parentheses following all these if statements, and if the nested if is too long, it's prone to make more errors in this nested if function. Now we will go to our second example. In our second example, we are calculating bonus based on the sales of these salespeople, and the condition is if the sales is more than 30,000, they get a bonus of 25%. If their sales is more than 20,000, they get a bonus of 20%. If their bonus is greater than 10,000, they get a bonus of 15%. And if it doesn't satisfy any of these conditions, the default bonus will be 5%. And we will see how we will do that in the nested if. So in the first one, click on that. We are checking to see the value in C6 is greater than 30,000. If it is true, the bonus will be the sales multiplied 0.25, that is a 25% bonus. And if it is not true, it comes to the false part and it starts another if condition. It checks to see if C6 is greater than 20,000. Then the bonus will be the sales amount multiplied 0.2, that is a 20%. And if this doesn't satisfy, it comes to the false part and starts the third if statement. Again, it checks to see if C6 is greater than 10,000. Then we will calculate the bonus as C6 multiplied 0.15, that is a 15%. And if any of these conditions is not met, then it comes to the last else part of the if statement and it calculates the 5% bonus, which is sales amount multiplied 0.05. So again, we can copy this to the rest of the column here by dragging the autofill handle by keeping your left mouse pressed. And we can see that we have an amount here which is 9,500, and we will see how it calculates this bonus as 475. It checks to see if it is more than 30,000. It does not satisfy that condition, so it comes to the false part, that is another if statement. It checks to see if it is more than 20,000. It again fails that test, so comes to the third if statement. It checks to see if it is more than 10,000 and is again false. It comes to the last default value and calculates sales amount multiplied 0.05 and brings the value as 475. And we will see the same example how we will do that in the ifs function. It's the same condition as here. More than 30,000, their bonus is 25%. More than 20,000, their bonus is 20%. More than 10,000, it is 15%. And if any of this is not met, the bonus is only 5%. So here the syntax will be if J6, that is the value of the sales amount of the first person, is greater than 30,000. It's not true, so it won't give you this value. It comes to the second if condition. It checks to see if it is greater than 20,000. That's also false, so it comes to the third condition. J6 is greater than 10,000. It is true, so it calculates this value J6 multiplied 0.15 and gives you the bonus. We will copy this to the rest of the column here, and we see that the values, the bonus calculated, are exactly the same using both the functions NestedIF and IFS. So only thing, the syntax of checking that value is different in both the functions, and again this is a little more shorter and simpler than the NestedIF function here. And in our third and final example, we have a table of products and the units sold of each product and the defective units returned against each product, and we calculated the defect percentage of each product by dividing the defective units by the total units and multiplied by 100. So our condition is to provide a grading of each product based on the returned defective percentage of units. So here we will see that the percentage is 1.55. That means 1.55% of the units are returned as defective of this product, and so on. So we want to provide a grading, and the condition is if the percentage is more than 10, we want to give the grading as critical. If the percentage is more than 5, we want to give a grading as major, and else if any of these two conditions not met, then we want to give a default grading as minor. That means if the defective percentage is less than or equal to 5. So we will look at the first condition here. Look at the syntax. If E6, that is the defect percentage of the product VTT, is greater than 10, then return critical. Else if it is greater than 5, then return major, else return minor. And here we see that it does not satisfy the first two conditions, so it returns minor because it's less than 5%. And we will copy it to the rest of the column here, and we see that here it's more than 10, so the return value of the grading is critical. Here it's all greater than 5, so it's returning major, and here in the first two the defective percentage is less than 5, the grading is minor. So we will do the same example in the IFS function too, and in the IFS function the syntax is if M6, that is the first defective percentage of the product VTT, is greater than 10, then critical. If that is false, if that is greater than 5, then it is major, and if both not met, then go to the default value, and before that default value we have to provide that keyword true to hit that default value here and return that default value as minor. And similar to the NestedIF, it's bringing the same results here because it's the similar function. It's doing the same thing, only thing the syntax is slightly different. So in general, the IFS function is more direct and straightforward to write and read the function, and the only problem is it's not available before 2016 version of Excel. But NestedIF will work in all earlier and older versions of Excel, so which makes it more used function. So in this tutorial we just compared and contrasted both the IF and the NestedIF logical functions, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will see soon with another Excel function tutorial, and in the meanwhile play with Excel and practice, and thank you for watching.